Thank you very much, Thomas. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you correctly.
Right. Ya, satu kasih dulu ke saya. Dobi dan Vas Navam, Menuji saya Wahdi. Well, hello and good morning, everyone. It is actually afternoon in my time zone. I'm very delighted for the opportunity to presenting in this very important conference. And as this conference is indicate a good progress of collective work of us to combat the pandemic. Yeah. The theme of the conference, the world after 2020, from crisis to biodiversity conservation, is very relevant, I think. Yeah, well, the beginning of this disruptive of pandemic and how it was started, it told us a very important message that we need to be very harmonized with the wildlife and our mother nature. I was supposed to be presenting in person, like Thomas said, in Prague, but unfortunately I could not make it for the reason related to the pandemic this time. But I certainly love to visit Prague and the rest of Czech country in the short future, I hope. I'm so happy for the opportunity to share some information, thought, and update about the ongoing struggling in Sumatra to conserve some key species and biodiversity live in associate with them. I know we are going to have some discussion later, and I look forward to it. And allow me to unambiguously convey a big thank from our colleagues in Sumatra to our partners, supporter, and our ally in Czech for the support, and we hope it will be continue and even stronger in the future. We do need you to help solve some very complicated and very time-sensitive problem, as we are racing with extinction of not only elephant, but also many other species who live in associate and share the same habitat in Aceh. Let me share the screen. Sorry if I have problem, I will maybe need some help from the organizer. Hope you can see the screen already. Yeah. Well, the first part of my presentation will be mostly talking about introductions and some problem and challenges, the part that you won't like it very much. Well, there is nothing small when it comes to the elephants, including the problem itself. So we have a scale of problem here that don't fit easily in national or regional cross-sectoral development agenda. The problem that don't fit easily in the time frame that we are used to dealing with. And I count on you to come with some good ideas, solutions, and suggestions, and of course collaborations, as it is an effortless for you to think out of the box, as you are out of the boxes that we are living with in Sumatra. This is an outline of my presentation this morning. Now I'm doing introduction, and later we will discuss challenges, a little bit background on the CRU concept and effort, some of the conservation actions that we have been progressing in Sumatra, and some future plan. Well, Thomas knows that Aceh province, where I live, is part of the Sumatra island of Indonesia country. And Indonesia as a country consists of over 17,000 islands, including Sumatra, Java, Sulawesi, part of Borneo, and part of New Guinea. Indonesia is the world's largest island country with about 270 million people. We have so many people living in Indonesia. Indonesia is the workforce or the fourth most populous country in the world. So you can imagine it is difficult. It's not easy to keep some wildlife in human dominated land, especially in Java Island. So back to Aceh, even Aceh is only one out of the 7 provinces in Sumatra located in the north tip of Sumatra. But Aceh alone is not a small area. It is size about double of Belgium country. So Aceh still have a good forest cover. The forest status in Aceh is covering like 62% of Aceh terrestrial. So the majority of the area in Aceh will be in terrestrial Aceh will be forest. Yeah. So we have like 3.5 million hectares of forest, and it's still relatively connected each other. So if anyone lost inside the 3.5 million hectares, it can be a disaster. So Aceh province is the only place in this planet where we still have 4 key species living together at the same and share the same landscape. We still have Sumatran orangutan, Sumatran tiger, Sumatran rhino, and elephant. Where other part of Sumatra with larger national park, yeah, in the middle of Sumatra we have Kerinci Seblat National Park, larger than Loser in Aceh, but they don't have tiger there. Well, also in Borneo, of course, they have larger forest area, but they don't have tiger. So Aceh is the only place where we still have this complete 4 key species in Sumatra. But unfortunately, these all 4 key species is now critically endangered. This is the status listed by the IUCN Red List species. And we know that the critically endangered is only one step before the next, which is extinct in the wild. So, and of course, we don't want it to be happen at least in our generations. That's why we are struggling to try racing with the extinctions, although it is not easy at all, especially rhino, yeah, who only left like less than 50 individual in Aceh province, not more than 100 animals in the entire of Sumatra Island. It was locally declared locally extinct in Bengkulu province, yeah, in the middle of Sumatra. Well, yeah, as Thomas said later, I will be focused more on elephant, but I like to briefly update you a little bit about our some key species like rhino and tiger. So in Aceh, rhino live in and around Gunung Loser National Park, and it is believed that the eastern part of Loser National Park is still have a well, the eastern part of Loser National Park is only remain.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. We still see just the slide with the map of Sumatra. Is that intention or we just?
Okay.
Cool, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. So let's continue. Yeah, the eastern part of population, eastern part of Loser National Park population rhino is believed is no longer viable. It's scattered, living separate each other. It's only a few animals, so it's non-viable. But in the western part of Loser National Park, the rhino is believed is still viable. So we, based on our national rhino emergency action plan, we will capture the rhino in the eastern part, and we'll start the captive breeding program. I know it is not an easy and very risky task, but we don't have other options. And the other population in the western Gunung Loser National Park will be protected using the intensive protection zone. So we like them to be kept in the natural habitat and protect the habitat really well. Well, beside the Sumatran rhino, we also have the Javan rhino, but it is in Java Island, Ujung Kulon National Park. They still have more than 70 individuals living in Ujung Kulon National Park. Well, tiger is another story. Tiger is, although tiger is a fast breeding animal, but the number is less than elephants. Yeah. It is predicted about 150 individual still living in Aceh, and together with elephant, it have the same issue with human wildlife conflict. Yeah, trap and snares and illegal hunting, of course, is the main threat of the tiger. And very sadly, now there is a growing trend that the wildlife being killed with the electric trap. Yeah, uh, we know, yeah, when for human elephant conflict mitigation, we use electric fence, but it is the fence that designed specifically for wildlife. But when I said it's electric trap, it is like a killing electric, yeah, trap. This is a now growing trend that the community is part of the solution for the pest management. They put this illegal electric trap, and it killed not only tiger. Just recently, we have three tiger. I mean, one good family of tiger dead at the same spot because of this electric trap. But also the elephant. Last year, we have five elephant individual dead at the same spot just because of this electric trap. Now the prosecutor being the police department working very good, and now they are in the process of the in the court. Yeah. So yeah, in the only last 2 years, we translocated five tigers, and sometimes yeah, from the snare, we have to amputate the tiger, and this this type of tiger will not be able to release back to the forest. You see in this the right picture is the process of when we amputate one of the tiger that being snared because of the tissue, and is already damaged by the snare. So we have a large consortium of partners working in Aceh, including the Center for Wildlife Studies under the veterinary faculty. So they are helping us for this medical aspect of wildlife rescue. So I don't know if next video slide will be about video of the tiger. I don't know if I can play it from here. Thomas, tell me if you don't see it or you don't hear it.
If it's possible that you pause the video.
This tiger was.
Wahdi, is it possible that you pause the video and we will play it here on a screen ourselves and you can comment it?
So this tiger was snared and captured, yeah, in Janto, Aceh Besar. It is only half an hour of driving from Banda Aceh, the capital city of
Wahdi, sorry, can you pause the
the
video
tiger, and then later
for a second, please?
Released back to the wild in Blangrao, a large savanna area connected with other forests with many prey animals. And we fit the GPS collar on this tiger so we can monitor its movement and how it established the territory in the new area. Unfortunately, after 8 months later, we got a mortality signal from the collar, and we found it being trapped again in another snare in Merdu area in district of Aceh Jaya. And at this second time, it could be survived. Yeah. So this is the just to give you the imagination how big is the chance of any tiger being snared, because this individual was rescued from a snare incident. We treat them and then release back to the forest, monitor them, but later the same tigers trap into the other snare in different area. So the snare issue is very emergency for the wildlife in Sumatra. Oh, sorry. To continue. Yeah. I like to be more focused on elephant. I know that I skipped the orangutan, but only if we have more time later, we can discuss a little bit about orangutan or update you a little bit. But sorry, as everybody knows that Asian elephant, we have 4 remaining subspecies recognized for subspecies of Asian elephant. Since a long time, there are some debates about whether the Borneo elephant actually a separate subspecies or it's part of the Sumatran elephant or was introduced as captive elephant in a long time before. But now the research and developed, and now a recent study of mitochondrial DNA haplotype analysis uh, says that there is the Bornean elephant is a separate subspecies and has been isolated very long time ago. So in the past, it was still doubting about this. But also the other subspecies of Sri Lankan elephant, Elephas maximus maximus, it was very long believed as a separate subspecies even until now. But now scientists start to doubt about this because recent molecular study doesn't see any significant genetic difference between the Sri Lankan elephant or Elephant maximus maximus to the mainland, to the one that in mainland Asia or Elephant maximus indicus. So there are some new development about these categorizations. Well, the Sumatran elephant, of course, protected by Indonesian law, and it is the only critically endangered status by the IUCN, while other subspecies is still listed as part of the species. So the only subspecies listed is the Sumatran elephant. Uh, the Sumatran elephant is part of the is unique subspecies of the Asian elephant and only found in the, of course, in island of Sumatra in Indonesia. And currently the populations approximately about 1,700 maximum elephant left still in the wild in Sumatra. But in Aceh, still remain more than 550 individual. So almost half of the entire island, Sumatran island population is actually live in Aceh. So this is the next slide is I would like to introduce you about our main problem about Sumatran elephant conservation. If you see this map of Sumatra Island, yeah, the red shape is tell us the distributions or the location of wild elephant population distributions. If you see the dark green one is the remaining forest cover, and the yellow one is actually the concessions or the plantation area. So you see the middle of Sumatra to the south, yeah. The red one is actually not really inside the green, yeah. I mean, it's in the middle of the yellow, means actually elephant is living surrounded by the concession or the plantation. This is the one that make problem for elephant conservation. But in the north tip of the Sumatra is Aceh. We still have a good forest cover, as I said before, and still have a good chance that we can still conserve the elephant in the future. Yeah. All right. We have several challenges that time bound and very important, require deep transformation and require a change of directions on how we positively live in coexistence with elephant as an umbrella species. Actually, elephant habitat is outlining other key species and become an important safeguard to ensure minimum requirement for a great balance to be fulfilled. We facing the problem of habitat loss. This is the map of historical deforestation in Sumatra. This is why Aceh has become more important, not because that Aceh, not only because Aceh maintained a stable population, but the problem is in other provinces that the habitat and the population is shrink very quickly. That's why Aceh is become more and more important for Indonesia and for Sumatran elephant conservations. Well, yeah, later I will show you the result of the GPS collar data analysis that showing not only outside the conservation area, but elephant also living even outside the forest area. So they're living in between of the community land, the concession area, in between the palm oil plantations. So as the consequences of Aceh province have still have relatively good number of Sumatran elephant population. Of course, as a normal consequence, we have human elephant conflict, also in almost all terrestrial Aceh. There is no issue about Aceh is lacking of elephant habitat, but the issue is we need to actively manage the habitat of the elephant because the one who, the area of elephant habitat can be fall into jurisdictions of various institutions. So we need to collaborate between institutions in Aceh, between the central government and also provincial government. This is only, just to give you some image about the intense of human elephant conflict in Aceh. We have human elephant conflict in almost all the district area, and also we have some various reason or the elephant deaths in Aceh, illegal hunting one thing, but also the poison and the snare, also some issues. We also also have, of course, the elephant deaths over time. As I said before, in the past, the poisoning of elephant in human elephant conflict area is become the main reason of the elephant killing. But now the electric trap is also growing, the incident. So we now working very hard with the police department and also involving the military police and also the village government. We just train them to about conservations so they can help us to prevent the illegal killing of elephants in the region. So most of the elephant deaths is actually happen in the private land or the community land around the concession area. So I would like to disclaimer a little bit. So this is not a good, not a success story, but I hope we will have a happy ending story. We're still struggling, try to conserve the elephant, but elephants, as I said, is not only in Aceh, but the other province. The challenge is also very big. We're still losing elephant all the time. Many population are isolated in small vulnerable groups, and this fragmented population often do not breed well due to the stress caused by small herd size and threatened habitats. So this further highlights the pressures on the current elephant population. In fact, if the declining rate persists, so the Sumatran elephant could be extinct within the next 20 years. So this is a very stressful, of course, slides, but then we do something, yeah, to conserve the elephant. And before I told you and the progress of our work in Sumatra, uh, I'd like to introduce you first about CRU, Conservation Response Unit, because this unit is the main instrument to implement many part of elephant conservation strategy. So the Conservation Response Unit was established in December 2002 as part of the Sumatran Elephant Conservation Program. So the CRU utilized trained captive elephants, their mahouts, park rangers, and local community representative for direct field-based conservation interventions. So this unit support the conservation of wild elephant and habitat and create opportunities for local community, achieving positive outcome for both elephant and people. So there is the CRU concept was established due to the situation that more than 500 captive elephants were living in elephant camp in Sumatra with very limited use and facing a serious problem of limited resources. So the conservation response unit concept is founded on the belief that diversity is only secure when diverse conservation strategies are employed. Ex situ and in situ conservation strategy and approach are not mutually exclusive. So no single method of conservation is optimal for all situations, and no single and success of both in situ and ex situ approach depend on forging, of course, the strong link between the two. So based on this philosophy, the CRU empowers the ex situ resources of mahout and train elephant, captive elephant, and deploy them to live together with the community. Consensus being an active part of the implementing strategy developed along with the community. Implemented in various strategic locations in Sumatra, the CRU concept has been the main field instrument to prevent new captures and work to demonstrate that the capture of wild elephant is not the best option when various human-elephant conflict mitigation approaches and strategies are available. So why we capture elephant? Because in the past, all these hundreds of elephant in the camp was captured as the result of human-elephant conflict. The reason the capturing was to solve the human-elephant conflict. But we learn that the capturing wild elephant is not really solving the problem, but actually we create another bigger problem in the camp, in the captive situation. So therefore, the success of CRU implementations that empower trained captive elephant and their mahout will never be used to justify the need to capture wild elephant. So even the CIU is the one who stopped the capturing of elephant in Sumatra by performing in the field. So this is just the location of various CRU in Sumatra. We have 7 CRU operate in Aceh because at one day, yeah, just recently last week, yeah, in one day at the same time, we have human-elephant conflict in 6 different districts at the same time. So if we don't have the CRUs working in different area, if we only rely on one team operate from Banda Aceh, all these human-elephant conflict area will never be response. So the idea of CIU is to be able to respond in timely manner. So the important value of the CRU is they have a role in situ conservation and also in ex situ conservation strategy. Some of the role in situ conservation component, because the CRU team is the one who will implementing the comprehensive human-elephant conflict mitigation and adaptation strategy. CRU is the one who will drive the herd, the crop rider in human-elephant conflict in timely manners, If we need translocation, the CRU team will the one who will do the translocation, help the vets to capture the elephant for GPS collar, and working with the community groups, yeah, to support the human elephant conflict independently. And of course, if we need the to implement a strategy of barrier to separate the cultivation area with the elephant habitat. Of course, to set up the barrier strategy, the artificial barrier, we need to know where to put in strategic area. So the Mahut, the CRU is the one who will know, will suggest the community where we need to establish the barrier strategy, and also the one who will work with the community to maintain the barrier that already develops. Yeah. Also, talking about elephant conservation, of course, we need to conserve the habitat. As we know in my earlier presentation, that most of the elephant population is not really living inside conservation area. They are living outside conservation area, even outside the forest status area. So in Indonesia, we have a relatively new a policy from the national government. We call it the EEA, or Essential Ecosystem Area. This is the new policy scheme that will allow some important area outside protected area, outside conservation area, to be specially managed in collaborative manner. But this new policy also will encourage local government at provincial level to take more lead in this active management plan. So this actually in line with what the expert of Asian elephant discussed long time ago about MER, manage elephant range. So this is in one spirit. But also, and of course, the CRU will be part of the collaborative management because all the CRU's units are located in very strategic and important habitat of elephant. The community-based patrol and monitoring, and also the CRU team also work to educate for education and awareness activities targeting community, visitor, and audience. But as we also working, I mean, as Indonesia also have captive elephant, of course, there is some role of ex situ conservation that the CRU also play. Yeah? CRU concept is a fundamental solution for elephant welfare issues from the overcrowded elephant camp, yeah, for the country. And so in the past, all the elephant, like in Aceh province, all the elephant live in one camp, and it is very high pressure also to the natural fodder around the camp. A lot of other issues, social issues within the camp. So now to reduce the pressure, the CRU being spread around Aceh and the various different districts. Of course, it is automatically will help the situation for the captive elephant management and the camp management, because the number of elephant become manageable and people also become manageable. Yeah, as I said also before, CRU is the successful instrument to end unnecessary wild elephant capturing, provide the new role and conservation value for both trained elephant and also the mahout. You can imagine before the mahout assigned by the government, the only role of them is only to take the elephant to the water and give the food for the entire of their career until the pensions. But now with the CRU's concept, the mahouts have a new dignity. They have new skill, being trained how to do the patrol, human elephant conflict mitigation, working with the communities. So it's become a new dignity for the mahouts, yeah, with the new with the tangible and an active role in conservation. So not only to keep the elephant alive. Yeah. Yeah, this is Aceh province, and we see there are still a lot of forests. And actually, this is the location where the CRU's unit are located. So it's spread around the Aceh province and located in the very attached to the very important ha habitat of the elephant in Sumatra. So the long-term conservation of elephant in Sumatra requires that elephant and people coexist with minimal conflict. Otherwise, demand for the removal of elephant will be difficult to ignore, resulting ultimately in the collapse of elephant populations on the islands. Appropriate method to mitigate human-elephant conflict in Sumatra need to be identified before the situations reach a point of no return. So in these pictures, yeah, this is a kind of imaginations and how an active management of key habitat, yeah, where we have this wild elephant, and using the GPS collar, we can monitor the movement of this wild elephant from our camp, and we see there is a barrier strategy here. There are some cliff slope, but also some area is we put artificial barrier like trench and also power fencing, so the elephant cannot go enter the cultivation area, pedivia here. But also the community need to adjust they the way they interact with the habitat, the way the livelihood options. They can grow some commodity which is compatible with the fact that the elephant are surrounding them. So like agroforestry is one that we are promoting, which is safe from the elephant. Elephant, uh, of course, they like some of the important commodity like oil palm plantation. They like it, also paddy, but there are some other commodity which is not palatable to the elephant. It is relatively safe. So barrier strategy is one thing that we are now also implementing in Aceh. Basically, the idea is to to make use the existing effective natural barrier, and we identify where's the gap that the elephants go on outside the forest area and go to the cultivation area, and then we put that artificial barrier to close that gap. Yeah. Now we are uh, building uh, the barrier in various districts in Aceh. In Benar Maria is one thing, but also in PD district, in Aceh Jaya district. This is just to give you some imagination about the location that the barrier strategy that we are now implementing. This is in PD district. We also now in the process of finalizations of the barrier strategy. Just want to skip because just to give you some imagination. So various method of artificial barrier strategy we implement like trends, but also power fence. Yeah, this is the power fence that specifically designed for wildlife and for the elephants. So
Just a
we
quick
can also
note, Wahdi,
monitor.
we have last
Sorry.
5 minutes of the presentation with
Okay,
you.
I need to be right. So yeah, we already set up 27 kilometer of trench and power fencing about 65 kilometer. But we also implement elephant tracking using GPS collar. This is also one strategy. not only that we can monitor the movement of the elephant, but also the data from GPS collar can inform us on how to manage the habitat in the future. Until now in Aceh, we already fit 14 GPS collar around Aceh in different groups. And this is just an example of our GPS collar uh, data movement. So every dot is representing every 4 hour. So we can understand a lot of behavior of elephant from this GPS collar monitoring. So actually the elephant doesn't really use all the forest area, but their movement is very much dictated by the topography and various other things. Sorry. Also in this slide, we see this the yellow line here is the establishment of artificial barrier. So we can see that after the barrier the barrier erected and the elephant movement, they don't go outside the forest area in this region. This is only just to give you a strong message that from our GPS core data, yeah, the APL is actually a non-forest area here in the first slide. The elephant, most of the elephant are living actually the one that carry the GPS collar is living outside the forest area. Why? Because we also check the preference of the slope. Of course, they like the flat area. They don't like the steep area. So this means that elephant and human is competing for the same area. We have the same preferences to live between human and elephant. But of course, in our spatial planning, human will take all the area that they need and left elephant habitat only the one that's steep area, something like that. So this is also one example that GPS core data that we overlay with the slope map, and it shows that why the elephants use only this area because there are some existing natural barrier that protect them to go further to the north. Yeah. We inspired by this data, we are now trying to convince the government to use this region as the elephant sanctuary, but now later we need to enforce or to put to strengthen the existing natural barrier with some barrier strategy, artificial barrier strategy. I don't want to be because the time it doesn't allow us, but also the CRU, of course, also do the patrols and they record all the findings. Uh, they also do law enforcement together with the forest ranger. And this is some tiger hunters, bird hunters, and illegal logging. uh, yeah. CRU also doing education and awareness activity in the elephant camp. We also invite school children from the school to come to the camp, and then the mahouts and also the elephant is very great instrument and for our education program. And sometimes we have various event in the camp. In some area, in some CRU camp, like in Tangkahan, we also support the community agenda to develop the ecotourism. And now we established CRU in 2000, late in 2002 in Tangkahan, but now they already have like annually 5,000 foreign tourists with revenue about 20 billion rupiah every year. Ya. In apa. So ecotourism is also one sustainability strategy, and also this is the way that the community can see the value and the use of the elephant or the CRU can also support their livelihood. Yeah. And it will give more reason for the community to protect the forest, which is in this Tanghan case, is the next of the Gunung Leuser National Park. So as part of the camp management, the CIU team also developed various fertilizer, liquid fertilizer, and also solid fertilizer. And actually, we are in the discussion with Thomas to discuss about the potential, the possibility of developing the biogas project from the elephant dung and also the dung paper project. I think that's end of my presentation. Of course, I'm happy to have the question and discussion later after this. Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you, Wahdi.
Yeah, I will stop this share screen.
So we're just sending a microphone to the audience if there are some questions. Before the other question raised, I would like to ask you, we have been discussing lately, and you have mentioned it in your presentation, that there are few hundred individuals in a captivity, in a human care. Some of them are within the CRU original concept camps. Some of them are with the Indonesian Nature Conservation Agency. To my knowledge, those individuals are kept well, but not certainly in the terms of population management and successful reproduction. Do you see some role of IAZA or World Association of Zoos and Aquariums in the involvement in management of these captive animals? And what should be the next steps? Because originally, if you would have been here yourself, we would probably go around some European zoos and travel with your presentation across some European zoos. So what are the next steps which the European zoo community can do to help manage the population of Sumatran elephant in captivity?
Wow, that questions. Yeah. One thing that I want to mention before I answer your question, that the many people uh, miss what do you call it? Many people in Indonesia, they don't think the captive elephant or ex-situ elephant conservation is very important. It's not an urgent thing. But what we all forget is actually all these captive elephant. Because why I don't think is very important, because there are a lot of more pressures and important issue for in situ and human elephant conflict, and of course the wild elephant. But we forget that all these captive elephant is not really as the result of the successful breeding program. All these hundreds elephant is there because they're being captured. Until then, at some point, we have moratorium of capturing in Indonesia. What I want to say is all these individual is now growing old, and soon we will lose the opportunity of this captive or ex situ component to have a good structures of ex situ conservation strategy, because people think that if we don't do it very seriously. So I think EA's role is very clear, that because you are the one that have all the expertise and also experience and knowledge on how to do successful ex situ conservations. We are in Sumatra. We don't not very many have sensitivities and how important is this the captive component, because but a lesson learned from rhino. Yeah, this is very interesting. Now to start the first sanctuary of rhino in Aceh, you can imagine how much is the investment and also the risk that we have to capture all the wild rhino and bring it into the captivity. We need to build the sanctuary, all the facility and everything. Yeah, just to start the breeding program, we need to capture the rhino. But for elephant, we already have this individual there. We just need to do it, in a good, better program for the captive breeding, and then we don't have to repeat the mistake or with the rhino. So I think the role of everybody is there, university and also YASA. I think we need to work together with an Indonesian government. First, of course, they need to be agreed that this is become the one of our priority. It need to be done so before we lost all the opportunity, because the elephant is getting old and we don't have. Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
don't know if it's answer your question, Thomas, but then
Yeah,
it's around there.
you certainly did. We also have Elmar from EASA Executive Office, and he is going to be a keynote speaker in the next session. And we will certainly pass the message and understood it as a request from CRU to start a cooperation with the European zoo community. We do have another question from online from Milado Shadrach. And she is asking, thank you for your presentation. Is it possible to protect the elephant population life outside conservation area against poachers?
Yeah. Yeah, this is actually apa? Well, this is the matter of the facts that the elephant now is actually outside conservation area. I can say it's majority of. That's why now we need to. The problem is in Indonesia, maybe it's a little bit complicated. The one who have the conservation authority in Indonesia is the central government, the central government. But the one who have the land, the one who have the forest outside conservation area is the provincial government. So the one that I mentioned in my presentation about the new policy about essential ecosystem areas policy, it is actually the new scheme that will allow all these important area outside conservation area to be more protected and specially managed. So of course, they need to be protected against poachers and also not only patrolling, but also managing actively the habitat. If we need the barrier strategy, then of course the barrier need to be there. We need to monitor the elephant with GPS collar. Of course, the elephant need to be fit with the GPS collar and things like that. So a kind of active management for especially manage elephant range. Yeah.
Wonderful. Any question from audience? Cool. Last question from audience from Arthur Snigon.
Thank you for the wonderful multi-layer work you are doing in Indonesia. Now back to the captive elephant population on the island. Can you recapitulate how many of them are there now in the camps, as you said, pretty much doing nothing? And what is your preview? How many of those elephants can be theoretically used within your conservation response unit if there is funding, if there is background support? Like, what is the upper limit of the capacity of the unit, or the needs, actually, the needs for such units? Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. Well, until now, we still have like 300 elephants, more than 300 elephants in the camps in Sumatra. And actually, the CRU type activity in Aceh itself, we have 7 CRU and all the elephant in the camp, almost all, because we still have some individual left in the old camp, but mostly all the elephant, the captive elephant being deployed to the CRU that they do in various different places in 7 areas in Aceh. But we also similar activities in North Sumatra, in Tangkahan, in Bengkulu, and also in now. Recently, we also support to establish more the CRU type activity in Waikambas, which is in the South Sumatra, in Lampung province. Now we have 4 CRU or ERU units in Waikambas also. So it's more and more elephants now being used for conservation purposes, helping the human-elephant conflict mitigation and things like that, doing patrol. But back to your questions, of course, the elephant that we can use for the CRU purposes is the one that being trained, yeah, to do the work. But this is a kind of chicken and egg, yeah. with the new system of the CRU, we also introduced to the new method and modern method about considering animal welfare to the mahouts. The CRU, the mahouts working in CRU will have different capacity. They now need to adopt a new modern system and also really comply to the animal welfare issues and things like that. So the I think the potential is still a lot, but maybe we need to be realistically. We can always start a new CRU, but then of course we need to train not only the mahout but also the elephant to do their purposes well. So they will what do you call it? Along the time they will develop their capacity to be able to play the role properly. So uh, I think there is still uh, a lot of chance to develop this concept in central Sumatra and also in the southern part of Sumatra, like in Jambi, Bengkulu. But interestingly, we've been requested by the Malaysian government in Sabah to provide the information and to them because they're also interested to build the similar program in Sabah. But my very point is that we are not trying to promote to capture the wild elephant just to establish the CRU. We only have the CRU because we already have existing captive elephant. So I'm really afraid that the other countries or other region, just because to establish the CRU, then they decide to capture the white elephant. That will become the disaster for the CRU concept.
Okay,
So
Wahdi,
yeah,
I would like to thank you very much for your time and for the information. It was really great to have you here, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing you in a few months in Sumatra. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, everybody. Well, good morning.